Sign of weakness.
Briefly, in other news, domestic news, lots of Labour pain in the Gorton by-election, of course. But isn't the other lesson of that by-election that if you want to oppose this government from the right in seats in urban northern England and similar, that you vote for a party getting 27% of the vote, i.e. Reform, not a minor party status in seats like this, yours, with 2%?
So I think we have to remember that that particular constituency was Labour's sixth most safest seat. You know, we were not contenders in that by-election at all.
What happens when a politician walks into a debate thinking they're about to land a political punch, only to end up completely cornered by their own contradictions? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Because in this video, we're about to watch Priti Patel find herself in a seriously uncomfortable live TV moment as accusations of glaring double standards surrounding the recent Gorton and Denton by-election come under intense scrutiny. What starts off as a routine political discussion quickly turns into something much more awkward, with questions that become harder and harder to dodge. And here's the thing. Political interviews can be brutal when the facts stop lining up with the message, especially when one rule seems to apply to one group of voters, but suddenly changes when another group makes political choices of their own. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Trust me, this one gets very interesting. Let's watch the clip together. And afterwards, I'll break down exactly why this exchange has sparked so much reaction and what it could reveal about the bigger political picture.
Sign of weakness.
Briefly, in other news, domestic news, lots of Labour pain in the Gorton by-election, of course. But isn't the other lesson of that by-election that if you want to oppose this government from the right in seats in urban northern England and similar, that you vote for a party getting 27% of the vote, i.e. Reform, not a minor party status in seats like this, yours, with 2%?
So I think we have to remember that that particular constituency was Labour's sixth most safest seat. You know, we were not contenders in that by-election at all. The real issue about that by-election, the real story, is just the fact that people have lost faith in this government and in Keir Starmer. He's got no authority whatsoever.
No faith in you in their place.
I've made it quite clear to you that is not a Conservative seat where we were in contention. It is Labour's.
Do better in it.
It was Labour's sixth safest seat. So on that basis alone, it was clear that it was a battle for Labour and Labour's vote, and Labour is a party of the left, and people have chosen to abandon
and if you're
the
on the
Labour
right,
Party.
If you're on the right, which 27% of the people in that constituency are, they turn to Reform and not you.
Well, I don't know how you can describe Reform. I'm not here to be a commentator on Reform.
They're a party of the right, aren't they?
I'm telling you now. Well, they
got lots of your ex-colleagues in for a start.
Well, they voted with Labour on various issues such as welfare and the two-child cap. So I don't think they can.
You don't think they're a party of the right?
They can't associate themselves with the Conservative Party.
They don't want to do that.
So look, the reality is that we were not in contention in that seat, and it was Labour's sixth most safest seat. So this is obviously a crisis in the Labour Party.
Your leader released a statement in the aftermath of that by-election where she described, quote, Labour created the monster of the Muslim community block vote. What does she mean by that?
Well, she was pointing out to the sectarian voting that is clearly now taking place.
Why is it sectarian?
But on the basis that it was very much targeted at particular... I mean, if you look at some of the tactics that the Green Party have used and all the rest of it, and the fact now that potentially the Electoral Commission are looking into the voting trends and patterns that took place in that constituency, Lewis, we should be concerned about that.
We should,
we live in a democracy, and that should be looked at. So I don't think we can overlook that issue whatsoever.
No, nor should we. But aren't, Dame Priti, those two quite distinct things? Obviously, if there's been any interference with the electoral process, completely illegal, wrong, needs to be looked at and stamped out.
To look at it, it's looking at one particular community and how they voted in that by-election.
But there's a difference between that, isn't there, and Muslim voters deciding reasonably en masse that there are certain parties that represent their interests, and they come to that view as individuals. Ethnic minority communities have always done that throughout democratic history. Why is it a problem when Muslims do it?
Primarily in this particular case, because it's specific to this particular by-election, I think we should just recognise that.
Camille was talking about something that happened more historically than that. She's talking about Labour created the monster of the Muslim community block
because, of
vote.
course, they have recently, clearly been playing the Muslim community in terms of securing their own electoral base.
You mean targeting the Muslim community?
Their politics, when it comes, look at the politics in their own
But
party.
your party has, for example, targeted British Indian voters in recent elections. Why is that any different?
No, that's a choice for them in terms of how they vote. We're not telling them how to vote.
But that's a choice for Muslims, how they vote.
I think in this by-election it was very particular, and I think now that there are going to be potential investigations by the Electoral Commission.
This is a video, to the 2019 election, that your then colleague, Shailesh Vara, put out aimed specifically at British Indian voters.
देश को आज बचाना है,
इस देश को आज बचाना है,
कुछ करके हमें दिखाना है।
तो वोट करो बोरिस जॉनसन, वोट करो बोरिस जॉनसन, ब्रिटेन के पीएम बनेंगे बोरिस जॉनसन, बोरिस जॉनसन।
Conservatives, British Indians. Is that sectarian?
That's his part of an election campaign, a national election campaign that all political parties do.
That's what the Green Party were doing, targeting
I'm
Muslim
sure
voters.
you could have shown the one for the Labour Party that they probably ran in that election, and other
I'm not
political
saying
parties
it's
as well.
improper, but your leader is saying there's something
here,
improper about
Lewis,
targeting particular communities.
We should absolutely say in this instance, this could potentially be looked at by the Electoral Commission in terms of voting patterns within the Muslim community. That is something not to be dismissed or taken lightly.
I'm not
and I think
dismissing
on that basis, until we see further details, which are now being questioned, the Labour Party has clearly been targeting, and we saw that during the last general election against the Gazan independents, and we know that they're incredibly insecure now as a political party, and they have been targeting the Muslim vote through their own national policies, such as Palestine two-state solutions.
Different votes. Historically, the Jewish vote, Indian vote.
It has changed, Lewis. It has changed. You've seen that. You've seen that since the last general election, and the way the Labour Party in particular have been behaving around Gaza and their own voter base. And I think that was tantamount and paramount in this particular by-election.
One final thing.
All right, so after watching that exchange, the double standard here is honestly hard to ignore. What we just saw was Conservatives and parts of the hard right making a huge issue out of the Green Party campaigning on topics that clearly resonated with Muslim voters in the Gorton and Denton by-election, almost framing it like something suspicious. But here's the obvious question. How is it suddenly community politics when parties speak to Muslim voters? Yet completely normal campaign strategy when the Conservatives themselves have targeted British Indian voters in past elections. Because let's be real, every political party targets demographics. Labour speaks to workers, Conservatives target homeowners and pensioners, and Reform appeals heavily to older voters. That's how politics works. So why does it become a problem only when Muslims vote for parties they feel represent their interests? And here's something else worth pointing out. The majority population in Gorton and Denton is still white, so the idea that a minority demographic somehow hijacked the democratic process doesn't really add up. At the end of the day, voters backed the party they believed listened to them. That's democracy, whether politicians like the result or not. Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more political breakdowns.